So welcome everyone to today's event, the essence of awakening and how to activate it more fully in your life. For those of you who are new to me, I want to take just a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Melissa Sophia Joy. I'm the founder of Sophia Healing Academy, as well as conduit really for somatic awakening, which is a healing modality and spiritual practice that has been born through my experience. I'm also a licensed naturopathic doctor, mind, body, spirit, counselor, spiritual teacher, oracle, and more. So again, welcome to this event. Today, we're going to be dropping in much deeper into what exactly is awakening, how to bring it more into your life. And then toward the end, latter half of today's event, we're going to be dropping into transmission. And according to my meditation that I had earlier, it's going to be a very potent experience because the higher guides, ascended masters, are going to be sharing with us even deeper wisdom about what awakening is, as well as you'll be led through a ritual and activation to help you take your next step in awakening. So we're going to begin with some wisdom teachings in regard to what I've experienced, what I've learned over the last 28 years and beyond. In this lifetime, I've been a deep spiritual practitioner, meditation practitioner for 28 years, but I also have had a lot of past life memories in regard to what awakening actually is. So let's go ahead and dive into what awakening is in regard to these wisdom teachings, and then we'll be going deeper with meditation, prayer, etc. as we move further into the event. So when we say awakening, it can elicit many visions of what that is in regard to ecstasies, joy, love, great wisdom, coming into union with the divine, etc., etc. And the deeper aspects of what awakening can be difficult to understand because there's so many different perspectives as to what it actually is. So the first thing that I just want to say in regard to the question, what does awakening actually mean? And what are we awakening from to begin with, right? So awakening is ultimately awakening from the slumber that the ego has put us in, right? So the slumber of the ego in general is all of the perceptions and beliefs about who we are and about what the world is, which includes any negative perceptions and beliefs in regard to negative voices, parts, and programs from the ego, which arise from the conditioning that we've been through within our family, as well as our interaction with society. It also includes anything that we've walked through, any difficulty or trauma that we've walked through that has brought these negative perceptions, parts, and programs into purview in regard to our ego. And all of these different negative perceptions ultimately keep us smaller than who we truly are. Granted, there are higher aspects of the ego which really help us and can give us good advice, such as, it's not a good idea to hit someone, or it's not a good idea to eat the whole cake, or, it's a really good idea to take care of yourself, to work out, to eat healthy, etc., right? So these are aspects that can really help us from the higher ego. However, the majority of the ego is trying to keep us safe and protected, right? So first of all, let's acknowledge that because it can get a really bad rap. However, the ego, a big portion of the ego, in trying to help us stay safe and protected, is actually bringing in a very limited perspective of what it means to stay safe and protective. And all too often, from that place, its perceptions of safety and protection put us in very small, constrictive boxes that are way too small for who we truly are. So therefore, the ego plays a really important role in either being open and allowing for awakening to happen, or constricting against it. And sometimes we can have parts that are doing, one is really open and one is really constricting. So we can have these contradictory feelings inside of us from the ego in regard to awakening. Because when the ego is fully running, especially when it's running from these negative voices and constrictive perspectives, it will very often steer us away from the actual experience of awakening, because awakening experiences ultimately shift us from having our ego lead our lives and shifting us into having our higher selves and higher understanding of what reality is and our relationship to the divine in a oneness state and beyond, into those higher aspects, higher understandings leading our lives. And so in this process, the ego can be very afraid and hesitant of giving up its control as well as protection, right? However, when you bring healing to the ego, specifically these parts, these programs, any part of the ego that is really constricted, what happens is that the ego becomes less resistant because it becomes softer. So it becomes more open to awakening over time. And what I've experienced is that the more healing that you bring to the ego and the more softening that you bring to it, the more the ego is open and allowing to the process of awakening to unfold in our lives. So let's go deeper into what awakening actually is on an even deeper level. So awakening is not only awakening from the slumber of the ego, although that is a primary prerequisite for this experience, but more aptly, it is the path of remembering who we truly are and the divine essence that's held within our experience of reality, that's both within us as well as outside of us. It includes the memories of where we actually came from, not just from our parents, but from a living connection with the divine. And awakening ultimately aligns us with the oneness field that we are all a part of. So you can't really get into the awakening by the mind or through the ego understanding by itself. Granted, the mind and the ego can be very helpful in helping us remember to do certain spiritual practices or remember certain teachings that are really guiding us on the path. But awakening is beyond our normal senses, our normal way of understanding everyday reality. And the process of awakening is communicated to us through the language of the divine. So let me define what I mean by that. So in my awakening experiences, what I've discovered is that the language of the divine is communicated typically through very powerful feelings, through visions, through deep sensations, through significant intuitions, and things in regard to our experiences beyond our normal five senses, right? So to fully step into awakening, we must really nurture experiences that open us beyond the lower analytical mind as well as the ego. So we begin, as well as we go deeper on the path of awakening, when we have these peak spiritual experiences that catapult us into a consciousness that is beyond everyday reality, everyday ordinary consciousness. And for most of us, we don't just have one spiritual epiphany awakening experiences and that's it. For most of us, we'll have many spiritual awakening experiences that ultimately will solidly plant our feet on this path. There are some people, such as Eckhart Tolle, who's had one huge awakening experience and then forever changes their life. However, for most of us, that's not the case. And we'll talk more about why that is in just a moment. Before we go there, I just want to clarify that the terms woke consciousness, actually for most people, whenever they're talking about that, they're not talking about spiritual awakening. What they're talking about is a very important movement that's referring to being woke regarding social justice. So this could be connected to Black rights. This could be connected to BIPOC movement to LGBTQ rights or other social justice movements, which are all very significant and very important in our world today. However, it's not usually referring to spiritual awakening unless a person is bringing both together. So when we go into a spiritual awakening, rather, as I said before, we're moving beyond the ego and the mind. And in this process, we drop deeper into the path when we activate, we nurture, as well as we practice utilizing higher aspects of the self through connecting with our higher self and our spirit. I use those words interchangeably. And what I mean by higher self and spirit is this divine essence that we are, which is flowing into our body, which is also in our body. So the flowing inward, the connection to the higher chakras and above, and how that energy flows into us. And it is also bringing energy into all higher aspects of self, such as the higher mind, the higher heart, etc. We also connect into awakening experiences when we make contact with the soul. And the way that I define the soul is that it is the essence of the divine that lives within us, right? So very often I'll say, what we're doing with healing the ego is that we're softening the constrictions that are held around the soul so that we can come more fully into direct contact with the power and the passion and the magnificence and the purpose that is held within our soul. Also, the other primary place within us that I want to speak to in regard to this higher aspects of self that we really need to stabilize is what I call the heart body, right? So the heart body is connected to the heart chakra. It's connected to the physical heart. It's also connected to the heart mind, which they've discovered now that is actually such a thing. There are actually neurons that are connected to our heart. And when we connect more and more to this essence of the heart, what happens is that we connect to the divinity within our heart, especially our higher heart, as well as the divine unconditional love that flows through our heart. So all three, I'm just going to add another one, our higher mind as well, which really elevates our thoughts, elevates our perceptions, right? Elevates our intentions and manifestations. So really all four play a significant role in activating as well as stabilizing awakening in our lives. So in a moment, we'll talk more about the practices that we can utilize to really help stabilize these in our lives. So in essence, awakening is really any reality-altering experience which takes us out of or shunts us out of ego consciousness, lower linear mental patterns, mental chatter, and moves us into deep silence, into vast presence, into spaciousness, and moves us into a sense of bliss, a sense of oneness with all things, and a feeling of going beyond normal reality. So when we step into an awakening experience, we're stepping into the quantum field of this higher vibration of what reality really is. And there's a tangible understanding and knowing that there is much more happening in our reality than our mind and ego leads us to believe. Awakening also shifts our focus away from what I call the main hard drive of programming and conditioning that arises from our mind and our ego. So this is very significant in helping us learn and heal how to move beyond those places and what it feels like to actually move beyond those places. And the intensity of awakening experiences can vary wildly. We can have, really mild awakening experience all the way to very profound awakening experience. And they can also last for variable amounts of times. They can last for seconds, they can last for minutes, hours, they can last for days. Sometimes they can last for weeks, months, or even years. However, the one thing that all awakening experiences have, especially a potent awakening experience, is that afterward, you don't view reality in the same way. You can never really quite go back exactly to how you viewed reality before. Because once you've experienced this opening, this quantum reality of what reality is in terms of what you've been shown, you can never really go back. It's like you step into the rabbit hole and you've gone deep enough so that your reality is shifted. It's almost as if like the things that you knew before, you've been shown something different. And what is now known and understood from your awakening experience can now never be erased, right? It's like this powerful imprint. And the more intense the spiritual awakening experience is, the more intense the imprint is. And again, your view of reality is completely changed. I'm going to tell you a story. Actually, it's a pretty funny story of someone who I've known. He's no longer with us, but he told me the story many, many years ago. And he was an MD, and he was living in New York City. He was from New York. And it was in the 60s, and he ended up taking LSD. And it was a very powerful spiritual awakening experience for him, which medicine journeys can open to us, which we'll talk about later. And what happened is that he stepped so far in to this much vaster, wider quantum reality of what was really going on and stepped into a oneness state. He could never go back to his regular life of being a normal MD, working in an office and in a hospital in New York City. And a year later, he ended up living on a hippie commune in Tennessee. And then a few years later, he ended up moving to Jamaica to work very much in service as an MD to the communities there, because he never saw reality the same. So he couldn't go back to what he knew before. Ultimately, it changed his life because he was able to see more of the depths of what reality is, beyond the structures of the mind, the ego, as well as society. The thing that I just want to say, because sometimes whenever I share this part of awakening, people can be in fear. And I want to invite in that with most awakening experiences, yes, it can drastically change your life. However, it's bringing in more love, more spaciousness, more freedom. It's allowing you to understand reality from this bigger perspective and have more compassion to yourself, first and foremost, to your own relationship to your thoughts, your beliefs, your habitual patterns, as well as your relationships with others. And the bigger picture, individuals, the society, the collective of humanity, etc. It really opens you to a much bigger softening of your experience with reality, ultimately. And in this process, your ego becomes softened as well. Very often, spiritual teachers will say, kill the ego. It's kind of like an old adage of the 60s and the 70s. And what I experience and what many spiritual teachers actually talk about is that it's not about killing the ego. It's about bringing enough love and care and compassion to these parts, these programs, these negative voices, these difficult somatic contractions within the ego and the somatic body, so that these parts are no longer leading. And again, as these parts are no longer leading and the ego goes more to sleep, we have more ability to connect into this bigger awakening field more often. So to be clear, because this is an important point, I really want to make sure you get this. Full awakening does not happen for most people with just one spiritual awakening experience. This can be a misnomer. I know myself, when I first had my first huge awakening experience, I thought, oh, my life will never be the same again. I will always be living in this awakened consciousness. And it's true, my life was never the same again. But the awakening consciousness will be very big and then it will wane. Again, the awakening process itself will build as you walk through it over time and you have more and more awakening experiences. And the deeper this process goes, the less the ego is running and the more full awakening happens over time. But it happens in incremental steps, right? For most, it's not just jumping into full awakening just like that. When the ego is asleep the majority of the time, however, that's when it gets really interesting, because we begin to step more fully into awakening in our everyday lives. And again, it is a step-by-step incremental process. So you could have a big awakening experience, and because you've been on the path for a long time, it can be very profound and last for several weeks. And then you talk to your mom, or you get in a fight with your partner or whatever, and the ego voices can rise up again, right? But the more that you've worked with the ego, the less they are in charge, and the quicker you come back to healing and bringing awareness and compassion into the experience, so that you can soften and connect to your higher experience of life. So one of the things that I just want to talk about is that as we go deeper and deeper into the awakening, we'll step what I call into a more full enlightenment experience. So this is when the self merges with oneness of the divine. And that's really what awakening really is. When the self merges with the divine. And that, again, can be a second, it can be a minute, it can be an hour, right? But when we have this merging with the divine running in our lives, the majority of the time, that's when we step into more full oneness in relationship with the divine. And we're living in an awakened field, right? This is what full awakening is. So before we go there, before we fully go into this awakening experience, right? Again, this is a path, so it's going to take each of us however long it's going to take us. One of the things that's really important in this incremental path, it's jumping back and forth with awakening, right? And bringing the light into the structures that need healing, is what I call the back and forth process of awakening. And this is super important to understand, because although awakening is incredible, amazing, it can be ecstatic and powerful and bring all these incredible, meaningful experiences into our life, as we go into the integration of the awakening, what occurs is that this light will then move down into our being. And that means it moves down into our ego structures, any trauma that's living in our body, and into our shadow, right? So the full integration of awakening experiences requires us, it invites us to be open to the healing and the change that the integration of the awakening brings into our being. Because the awakening experience itself, again, brings huge amounts of light in. And this light inevitably integrates and sometimes crashes down into our body, into our psyche, and into our shadow. And this happens because the light of spirit, it wants to bring more freedom into our being. And so it's going to light up anything that's still held in these contractive voices that are still stuck in this frozen place, that are still stuck in our shadow. And what I'd like to do now is just give you a little example of this through my own experience. So I've been a spiritual practitioner and meditator for the last 28 years. And during the last 28 years, I've had several awakening experiences. I can't say honestly that I'm fully into full enlightenment all of the time. I do have experiences of it. It's integrating more and more, still bouncing back and forth. But I'll say this, last several years ago, what happened is that I started having these visions with Mary Magdalene, with Yeshua Jesus, as well as many other ascended masters, as well as Divine Mother. And what happened is that these visions catapulted me into a very deep, elongated initiatory experience that inevitably and irrevocably changed my life. And during this time, I had many awakening experiences, and I discovered that every single time that I went through this awakening experience, or any awakening experience, while in the awakening experience, I was in this incredible expansiveness, this oneness. Sometimes it would feel very blissful and loving, powerful. And I noticed that while I was in the awakening experience, that my ego felt really far away. My attachments were incredibly low. I wasn't running from a very attached place. My more difficult ego struggles weren't leading at all. But then after the awakening experience would fade, what would happen is that light would go into my being and settle into the places inside of me that most needed love, that most needed healing. And in this process, I was asked to face every single nuance of my shadow that was lighting up at that time. And this was both a very painful experience. It was also an incredibly healing experience. And the integration powerfully forced me to really look at all of these places that were still stuck. So ultimately, I could be free so that my shadow and these negative voices and patterns were no longer running my life in the same way. So ultimately, it helped me and it led me to this higher vibration of embodied love, of joy, of peace and bliss, right? But this path and its integration, it does require us to be very courageous, because it does require us to look at those parts inside of us that don't believe that we are light, that are still in these really hidden, protective, frozen places that are still really running these negative voices inside of us. So it requires courage, it requires discipline, it requires a practice of love, self-love, and love in general. And from a person who's deeply walked this place, I'll also say it's completely and absolutely worth it, because it completely changes and frees your life. So now the last thing we're going to talk about is the practices, or I should say are the practices, tools, and techniques that activate and stabilize awakening in your life. And I can imagine a lot of you have heard of these before. So I'm going to be introducing them as well as sharing more about my experience. And if you are already a deep spiritual practitioner, I invite in beginner's mind, right? Maybe you already know a lot about this, but maybe there's something that you'll learn that will help you go deeper. So the first practice, which is very significant, is the path of meditation. I have found that meditation is a primary practice to help support our awakening experiences, because it helps shift us out of our analytical lower mind, as well as our egoic structures, and brings us into presence. And presence is a very important prerequisite that opens us to these spiritual higher understandings and higher awakening experiences. So in this process, in meditation, we also have the opportunity, right, this golden opportunity that really allows us to more fully see and come into relationship any negative voices, parts, and programs inside of us, as well as any aspects inside of us that are still holding on to trauma, especially in our somatic body, through contractions that are weighing us down and ultimately leading our lives. Meditation also helps us align and connect to the higher parts of ourselves and stabilize our awareness in the awakening field from these connections. So it activates our connection with our higher self, our spirit, our soul, our heart body, our higher mind, and all four, as I mentioned before, really stabilizes our life, heals the ego parts and programs, as well as can bring huge healing to the contractions of trauma within. Meditation is, especially this kind of meditation, is a core attribute of what somatic awakening actually is. And again, somatic awakening is the spiritual practice and healing modality that I teach. And somatic awakening is based on the utilization of these higher aspects of self in relationship, direct relationship, to these more difficult, dense parts of our being. And meditation is one aspect of somatic awakening. So when our higher awareness in general, there's many different ways that can happen. When our higher awareness comes into relationship with the more dense aspects of our ego, as well as sort of somatic contractions, it naturally brings powerful healing and awakening to our entire being. And so again, somatic awakening utilizes meditation as well as many other techniques to free, heal, and awaken our being. So whether you use somatic awakening or another meditation practice, when practiced with diligence as well as discipline, meditation can definitely and powerfully further you along in regard to your path of awakening. So the next piece is the path of prayer as well as devotion. You can merge these together or have them separate, but for the sake of time, I'm merging them together because they're so correlated. So I like to say that prayer is talking to the divine and meditation is listening. So both are incredibly important. Having a prayer and devotional practice, such as chanting, opens both our higher mind as well as our higher heart to connect to the divine, especially when we come to a prayer as a loving conversation. So we're not begging for what our ego wants from a parent in the sky perspective, right? But deep prayer and devotional practice is actually filled with gratitude, with surrender, with love, trust, and spiritual humility. And what I mean by spiritual humility is an opening to the divine that is not giving ourselves away, but we're opening to surrender with our highest good, right? Versus our ego desires and wants, our lower mind running, right? There's a huge difference there. So when all of these aspects are present, a magical communication and connection with the divine unfolds. And this aligns us with our heart, our soul, and spirit. And in this process, somatic awakening actually utilizes the power of prayer very, very significantly with what I call the power of the word decree. And in this process, what we're doing is that we're aligning with our higher self energy as well as our deeper intentions that are connected to our higher good, our highest good. And when we do this, we potently bring in powerful manifestation as well as powerful synchronicities into our life. So then we have the path of physical practice. So these are spiritual practices that are connected to the physical, such as yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, walking meditation, and other physically oriented spiritual practices that can really deeply align us to our spirit and our energy. And all can support our connection to awakening if done with diligence and discipline. For myself, for over a decade, I was a deep yoga devotee. I actually was a yoga teacher for many years, and it greatly helped me establish my awareness in my body, in my energy, and in my spirit. And I credit my first awakening experience to the deep practice of yoga, as well as meditation and devotional practices over several months, which cracked me into open a living knowing with the Divine Mother, which is so beautiful. So then we have the path of study. So study is an important and vital part of spiritual practice, which also opens us to the divine. It aligns us to our higher mind and a deeper understanding of the scaffolding and the different spiritual forms and practices that come from the experiences of spiritual masters, teachers, sages, prophets, oracles, and other holy people. When we read or listen to a teacher that is transmitting wisdom from the divine, our entire lives can be changed if we really allow that in, because we understand reality from a higher and divine place. So right now you are in this practice because you're listening to me, and especially in a few moments, we're going to be going into powerful transmission from Ascended Masters, which will help you receive the activations and the wisdom even more. So when we align to the deeper energy and the wisdom that's being transmitted, especially from masters, we align to a higher vibrational field, which really helps catapult us into higher vibrational understanding and ultimately higher vibrational living. However, there is a drawback, and that is that sometimes the mind can overtake the process and could pull us down into ruminating over the information, and we can spend out regarding that. So if that happens for you, I just invite you to come back, move into another practice, whether that's meditation or physical practice, so that you can come back into present moment. Now, I have a couple more things to say, and then we're going to go into transmission. The next two are very, very recommended. In essence, it's bringing many of these practices into a deep experience because it's opening us over time to our spiritual connection. So the first one is the path of retreats, right? So there can be many type of different retreats. There can be meditation retreats, vision quests, going on spiritual pilgrimages to sacred sites, etc. And each of these are different. However, they're all highly recommended because they help you connect into diving into spiritual practice over an extended period of time. My experience is that almost every significant spiritual awakening I've had has been on meditation, retreat, vision quest, or pilgrimage. Because again, each one of these are offering extended amounts of time, diving into oneness, diving into present moment, diving into these high vibrational experiences, and they will help you connect more fully into your connection, your living connection to your next steps of your awakening process. And the last thing I just want to talk about, which some people are very into, some people aren't into, but I just wanted to give a shout out in regard to it, is the path of medicine journeys. So for those who are called to medicine journeys, it is a very valid way of giving you boost and awakening experiences and spiritual insight. There are many different medicines such as ayahuasca, psilocybin, and MDMA that are now being studied for the positive psychological effects. There's a lot of information on Netflix and Gaia TV and other places that are really talking about the research that's being done with these substances. These medicines can also really powerfully open you to deeper states of consciousness and awakening. Now, the drawback with this is that I've found is that if you totally rely on only medicines for spiritual experiences and awakenings, and you don't do the other practices required to stabilize these experiences, it can be more difficult to stabilize and integrate these experiences long-term in your daily life. So if you decide to do that, just keep that in mind, as well as if you decide to do that, make sure you're doing it with someone who's holding a powerful space for you. They've been adequately trained and they know what they're doing. All right, so now we're going to go into meditation and transmission. Okay. So I invite us all to take a sip of water if you feel dehydrated at all. So for this next part, for those of you who are new to transmissions, let me take a moment just to introduce this next part to you. So in a moment, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be going into meditation, invocation, and then I'm going to be opening the space for higher ascended masters to come in. And during this process, there's going to be a sharing of wisdom, of words, and as well as there's going to be a ritual and activation that's going to be coming through today. Within the words, there is also an activation transmission of a higher energetic vibrational field. So what you're going to be invited to do is to take this information in, both the linear information of the words as well as the energetic vibration, into your body in a way that is superbly aligned with where you are today. We're going to be setting it up with the intention, meditation, as well as invocation, so that that's happening. So just to keep that in mind as we're moving forward. And also the other thing to keep in mind, especially during the ritual and activation, is that some of the information coming in is going to be in light language. So you're invited to get out of your linear mind. You're invited to open to receive the information on a feeling, sensing, intuiting level. In other words, the levels that are beyond your normal senses and beyond the linear mind and the ego. Because remember, awakening happens most significantly, that next step of awakening, when we have these more non-linear aspects of us in charge. All right. So with all of that said, I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and take a moment to connect in with your breath. And as you align in with your breath, just take a moment to connect into your body and to noticing what's here, whatever you're feeling in this moment. And just allow it to exist because it's here. So as much as possible, I invite you to not judge your experience or tell yourself that you're doing anything wrong. And just open to feeling, to sensing, to intuiting what's here, what's in your being, as you continue to breathe nice, full, deep breaths. Let's take a moment to connect into the earth, to ground our experience today. So go ahead and bring your awareness all the way down to the base of your spine. Take a nice deep breath in and out. And on that exhale, go ahead and bring your awareness all the way down to the base of the spine and down further, down into the earth. And with your exhale, every exhale, just notice that you're easily and effortlessly moving all the way down, in and through all the different layers of the earth with ease and with grace. Taking another deep breath in and out, going as deep as you can go in this moment. And just feel yourself now gliding into connection with the core of the earth. And as you come into connection with the core of the earth, notice how you notice that, what you see and perceive as you connect in. And now feel, sense yourself being magnetized into the very center, into the loving heart womb, center of Sophia Gaia, in the very center of the earth. Opening to the love, the care, the nurturing, the grounding that's here. Connecting into the natural recalibration that happens as you align with this loving pulsation that the earth is continually giving you. And as your awareness comes into contact with this love, allowing all aspects of your being, especially the ones that need it most, to recalibrate to this loving, grounding energy. And on the next inhale, go ahead and bring your awareness back up, this grounding cord, moving all the way up into your feet, into your calves and thighs, into the base of your spine. And now moving up your central channel in the center of your body, all the way up to the top of your head, the place known as the seventh chakra. From this place that is a part of your energy body, now notice that there is a stream of high vibrational wisdom, love, care that's flowing down from your higher self into your body. Allowing your higher self to move into your body in the right and perfect way for you. Notice what you're noticing. You may notice a specific color or vibration or feeling of love, wisdom, spaciousness, whatever it is for you. Just allowing more of your higher self to fully come into connection with your being now. And now go ahead and bring your awareness all the way into your heart body. So what that looks like is allowing your awareness to rest in your heart. Relaxing back. No need to try to figure this out or think your way through it. Just relax back in your heart. Very simple. Just allowing. And from this place of unification with your heart, your connection with the earth as witness, your alignment with your higher self, we now call in the great connection of Supreme Being, Divine Mother, Divine Father, all that is in oneness, connecting us all together, those who are here live, those who will be listening to this recording in the future, just feeling, sensing, knowing that we are now held in a powerful container, sanctified with love, with protection, with care, with nurturing, held together in this powerful diamond light golden container that is absolutely aligned with your higher self and your individual field, and connected together in our collective field, aligned with all of our unified highest goods, the law of love, the law of one, and the law of grace. We now know it is so. And from this place of high vibration, of love, of care, of oneness, of grace, we call in the higher ascended masters, the guides of light, the elevated ancestors, the animal allies, the angelics, and all who are in vibrational alignment with this love, with this grace, with this oneness, to nurture each and every one of us in the right and perfect way for us all. And we now know and claim that the energy that moves into each and every one of us is in alignment with our highest good, with our nervous system, with our animal body, and within our capacity, so that we may easily and with grace step into the alignment of awakening that's connected to us. And we bring this into connection with the present time field that we are in right now, as well as into our future timelines. So for some of you, this information you'll be receiving in a week, or 2 weeks, or 2 months, or 6 months. So just knowing and trusting that this is in alignment with your highest good. Again, stepping out of linear understanding into this space beyond time and space. We give gratitude for the many councils that are here and supporting us in this process, especially for the Council of One, the Council of Christ Consciousness, the Council of Lemurians, and the many others who are holding support for us together in this oneness of love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we now open to this space of transmission. And the next time I open my mouth, we will be fully in transmission, and the guides, if it is important, the guides will tell you who they are. We come to you on waves and waves and waves of love, of care, understanding the seemingly dichotomy, the very often struggle of coming back home to who you are. This reality has been set up in its current configuration to magnify duality, good and bad, light and dark, and the ego is a configuration that has many doorways, many constructs, that is likened to a labyrinth. It is like a maze that all who are longing to be free is asked to navigate. We can say from this much higher perspective that this is the quote unquote game that humans are playing. However, when you are merged with this reality, with your ego, it does not feel like a game. It can feel difficult, full of struggling and strife, full of pain, full of trauma. And the ego is doing all that it can to help you survive, to help you feel protected. Yet, in this process, it inadvertently closes down your experience of spirit. It prevents you from opening to the highest vibration of who you are. This is why working with the ego and its structures is a primary prerequisite for awakening. So we of the Christ Council, so you know who we are, honor you all for understanding that the divine is within, for understanding the deeper connection to who you are, even when the ego tries to close you down in safety and protection. Your emotions are valid. Healing is needed, especially for those of you who've walked through trauma. And on a collective level, the ego holds what we'd call the core wound, core fear of humans, almost all humans. And its very, very essence, the fear of annihilation, of dissolving, of not existing. This can be terrifying. However, the truth is that this is a very potent gateway, because your being can never be annihilated. Your soul and spirit can never be annihilated fully. What happens for many who are on this path of awakening is that this fear of annihilation, when it raises its head, it screams, especially if you are close to a full awakening experience, and it says, go back, turn back. If we fully merge with oneness, we will be annihilated. Turn away. But the truth is that merging with the oneness of the divine, the everything and the nothing, is anything but annihilation. It is relaxing, merging with the love of the divine. And this is important for the higher mind to understand. But we say this most significantly for you to remember. For as you walk deeper on this path of awakening, you eventually will come right up next to this core fear of the ego. So we plant this seed for you to remember. Annihilation is a great fear. But over time, as you are ready in your own alignment, standing with this fear and opening to the actual experience of awakening, you will find true freedom, true love, true relaxation, and deep safety. So we invite you to receive these words and the energetic packets of love, care, wisdom that these words carry. For you to remember this as you come into relationship with deep awakening, whether that is in this lifetime or the next. And you are held in this process with love and with care, supported, deeply supported, to be able to stand with the fears and all of the other difficult emotions that the ego holds, so that you can, in right alignment, be free and connect more and more with the merging of the oneness. For truly, awakening is softening the ego identity enough to allow divine oneness to merge with your awareness. However long that lasts. And this imprint changes your life. So, beloveds, we now shift to an alignment and connection with our brothers and sisters who are part of the Christ Council, the Council of One, those of Lemuria. For those of you who are unclear what Lemuria is, it is an ancient civilization before Atlantis that was living in divine unification with each other, unification within each individual's divine relationship. This is what has been known as Eden when they were living, in alignment with other beings as well. So they are here in a oneness field beyond time and space to help you open to your next step in awakening. And some of their words will be in what you call English, and some of the words will be in their language, because their language holds a high vibrational field of awakening. Much love and many blessings to you. We are in deep honor and gratitude to be here with you, brothers and sisters, in this unified container that is in resonance field with awakening. We are happy that you are open, that you are saying yes to stepping more fully into awakening field. So we have been given the honor of leading you on deep ritual today to help you connect into your awakening field. So we invite you, if you do not already have your eyes closed, to close your eyes and just receive as we go deep within this container together and open portals of awakening energy. So we invite you back into your heart to move into the portal that is in the back of the heart. And we invite you to turn toward the back of the heart and see a beautiful ornate doorway. And as you see this doorway, notice that there is a doorknob that is right in front of your right hand. Go ahead and put your right hand on this doorknob and open the door. And as you open the door, you notice a beautiful natural scene. There are plants that you recognize and plants that you do not recognize. A very high vibrational energy. And there is a path right before you, and you are invited to walk on this path in this forested, very beautiful landscape. And as you walk in this landscape, you move toward this great rock formation. And you see two females standing on either side of an entryway. These are high Lemurian priestesses welcoming you to a powerful Lemurian temple that is within the inner earth. So these two priestesses take you hand by hand, each one of you, individually seeing yourself walking hand by hand. These loving priestesses walking you into this temple. At first it looks like a cave with lights on the walls of the cave. And as you go deeper and deeper, you notice that there are rooms to the right and to the left. And you can peek into these rooms and notice beautiful ornate structures, different colors of vibrational essences, some having fire, some water. And you begin to feel this high vibration that this inner earth temple holds as you walk deeper and deeper in, going down a slope. And as you walk deeper and deeper, you are now brought into a very large room that has beautiful ornate structures all around it. And the light seems as if it is emanating from the walls. And it is very warm. And you hear water flowing in the background. And you hear sounds, tinkling, essences. And you realize this is a powerful sound chamber. And this sound chamber activates and leads you to your next step, whatever that is for you. Again, in alignment with your being, alignment with your nervous system. So in the very center of the room, you realize that there is a chair for each of you. So you're invited to sit down in this chair. It is almost like a throne. And you realize as you sit in this chair that you can feel the vibration of the sounds coming from this room. The sounds themselves start to move into your body. And now we open to leading you on this journey as you sit fully in this chair and close your eyes. So we begin with activating, clarifying, decalcifying in the most loving, gentle way your pituitary gland. When activated, it allows you to more fully connect into spiritual awareness and your everyday life. So we open again to our language. Oyana yona keneshana, oyana nanashana kenasha, oyana nashana kanashana, oyana shana nakatnashana, oyana kanashana, oyana shana kashana, oyana oyana. Oyana shana kana shana, oyana shana kana shana, oyana shana koshana shana, ayana shoniana hashina paka, oyana shana shonaka, oyana shana kana sha. Oyana shana kana sha, oyana shana kana sha. Ishana moshana kina, shona meina ha, shona likina shana maha likina shona mana. Yeda shona makina la shana mosha chashata. Ona shana makana shana magata, ona shana makina shana gataha. Wala la shana matikina shana magata shana makana mashana kanda. Nashamana kana, Yashanuma kana, Ashumukasha namana, Oshanama kana, Akana, Okana shamana, Alakana maka, Ishana, Inakana nashanamana. We call in the love light of the One to come into your pituitary gland now. We call in the light of the One to decalcify your pituitary now. We call in the love light of the One to activate your pituitary now. We call in the love light of the One to know that it is safe to remember your pituitary gland now. We call in the love light of the One to fully turn on your pituitary gland now. Ashanakandashamodakalashatah. And so it is. We now bring this love light into your nervous systems, beloved, so that the nervous system feels safe, so that it is relaxed to receive the great wisdom that you are, to remember the greatness that you are, to expand into the love that you are. Receiving the waves of grace now, beloveds, receiving these waves. To know that you are safe. Seeing the colors, the energy moving in. Allowing this loving vibration into the places that most need it. The frozen places, the contracted places within the nervous system, connected to the animal body, connected to the ego, connected to trauma contractions in your body, receiving this love light now. All the way in, as far as it can go, in alignment with this present moment. Opening, allowing, receiving this love light in your nervous system now, in this time, and in your future time. Just allowing. Now we open the shower of love light into your endocrine system, into the glands that create hormones, and into the structures within the nervous system that create neurotransmitters, so that they vibrationally can be aligned to this orchestration of higher vibration, of higher connection and activation of your higher self, your spirit, your higher mind, your soul, your heart, to more easily shift you out of any habits, habitual habits of the ego, the lower mind. We now invite you to open the floodgates of this transmission. Wana shikada, uyana kanasha mikenda. I know shanandikado, shanamakina moshanda, mo shanandikata shanamaka. Wolegata shataka. With every word, we address every gland. O shikata shanamakali kachatapa. O shanalikanashana, oyana kashana lakata. We invite in exquisite balance. Ina kalashomo ketashita ketashona ma ketishita akate koshudinketo shanma kenaliana maka. Okana kashu keto shanna kaosha kalaketa moshakata. We, the Dragon Council of Lemuria, now come in and remind your being of your true nature, an alignment with Sophia Gaia, an alignment with Mother Earth, an alignment with Divine Mother, an alignment with Divine Father, an alignment with the one that you are. Okana, Shinakalna ko Shinikida Woshanaka, Okana, Shunamakita. Yeshikana, look at the motion like condition maka ha, or like a nation of Makola Kata Shatka. Kana, Kushama Lakata. We reset your system to what it truly is. Aka, Shunakana Shinamalaka. You are worthy of this remembrance, beloved. Akatekishunamakalekanamaa. You are this love. Your body deserves to remember this love through your chemistry, orchestration of this love in your being. We stand with you. Powerfully calling this forward. It has been taken from you. And we were reminding you that you have it within you to reset this now. It is being reset now. Anashanaka. All of these activations work together in harmony to move into the true aspects inside of you that hold this energy of remembering all the way down into your DNA, down into what has been called junk DNA, but is actually divine DNA. We bring this into activation now to stabilize your experience of who you truly are, to stabilize your higher self and all that that represents within your being now. We call in this diamond light of remembering. We call in this lightning light of remembering and harmonic resonance with your own unique being now to activate, to come within all structures of DNA that are ready to receive this activation of your holy divine genome now. Washana kalakshita pakalishina nanama halikata pachukola yataba. Ola kinasham aglika shakadao and compassion and kintashwakatala kadashona makitashana kanona katatabala. And I ocean makina like an ocean kashabashan and kanala katabata. What is a pachikada? Oh, that's a pachata. You have the right to remember, beloved. You have the right to stand with us in oneness, beloved. We are here with you, reminding you and your future self, this is already done. Open now and right alignment to receive. We see all that you have been through. We honor all that you have walked through. We stand with you and holding all of the trauma that you have been through on all of your lives. And beloved, now, in this now, and in all future nows, you have what it takes to remember. In the space beyond space, in this time beyond time. We welcome you back to yourself, to who you truly are, and your right and perfect time. And with this, knowing that you are held in this love, you're held and given everything that you need to take this journey of remembering, we end this transmission in this time and space. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, beloved ones. Thank you for all that you shared with us. Thank you for holding us in such deep and profound love. Thank you for offering us what we need in each moment so that we can continue down this journey, knowing that we are held, that we are not alone. And deep and abiding gratitude. This channel is now closed, and we end this transmission. So as you are ready, go ahead and come back. Thank you all for your presence here today. So delighted to have all of you here. And before we end, I just want to just say a few words. So the first thing is I'm feeling incredible gratitude that I get to offer these events. Each time I do, it opens this powerful conduit of transmission, which utterly alters my life for the better. And so I hope that you are feeling this as well. Again, the experience that we just received is very nonlinear. So if the mind comes on later and says, "What was that?" Notice that's normal. And as much as possible, come back to this feeling, sensing, intuiting experience, because this is where we actually are able to receive the information. And again, the information, some of you may have received a huge amount of information and transmission from this experience right now. Some of you may receive it tomorrow or the next day or next week or further out, right? We aligned it with your right and perfect timing. So if your nervous system is overwhelmed and it was too much, then you're going to receive it later. Maybe on Wednesday you're meditating and some big awareness happens. This is very, very normal. So just wanted to bring that into the purview. So again, these events are happening every month as part of the Somatic Awakening Sangha. The next event is going to be happening on February 26th, and the name of that is going to be The Power of Your Higher Self to Heal and Awaken Your Life. very similar to this month, but also very different because we're really going to be focusing on the scaffolding, the understanding, the principles of how that higher self relationship can actually transform. So we can say that today was a prerequisite for next month. It's like part 1 and part 2. So we're going to be going deeper with that. And if you are feeling aligned to this work and you want to go deeper, there are a couple of different ways to do that. There is a Somatic Awakening Sangha, which is a monthly membership, which includes these monthly events, as well as other events throughout the month. This next month, on Sunday, February 5th, we have a Somatic Awakening Sangha Heart Council, where you come in and share your truth and be in community together. And every third month, I also offer a satsang, so where we're coming together, sharing, as well as I'm leading more meditation transmission, as well as doing somatic awakening work with others. And the last thing I just want to say for those of you who really want to go deeper into this work is that coming up in April, I'm going to be offering Embody Healing and Freedom Again, and this is an introductory course to somatic awakening, which is very powerful, and it also is a prerequisite for the longer 6-month program, Somatic Awakening Practitioner Program, for practitioners and non-practitioners, that is going to be launched again next fall or next winter. And this class that's coming up is going to be both recorded sections, so video recordings and audio recordings, as well as I'm going to be offering live classes in connection to that. So if you are interested, just stay tuned. I'll be giving out a lot more information as we move toward April so that you can find out more about that. So again, thank you so much for your presence. So much love and many blessings to you. And may you find ever increasing support as you continue to step on your journey of awakening, whatever that looks like. All right. Much love and many blessings. Take care, everyone. Bye.